I'm Patty Williams-Downs, CEO and founder of Breaking Bounds Enterprises. Welcome back for our final episode of Season 2 for the Boundary Breakers podcast, where we share the stories of boundary breakers that are using their unique gifts and talents to transform the world. For our last episode of Season 2, please join me in welcoming the founding Chief External Affairs Officer of the Breakthrough Collaborative, founder of LM Philanthropy, and boundary breaker, Lereca Monik.
Hi, Patty. Thank you for having me here.
Yes, it's so wonderful. I'm so excited for this conversation. So for our listeners, just kick us off with, who are you and what do you currently do?
Got it. I am Lereca Monik, and I am the founding Chief External Affairs Officer for Breakthrough Collaborative, where I oversee 4 verticals: fundraising, marketing communications, advocacy with the small a, as well as alumni activation. In addition to that, I have a small boutique firm called LM Philanthropy, where I work with social entrepreneurs and helping them to build their economic model for sustainability within the communities.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about Breakthrough and what does it do for communities across the United States? Like, bring us into like a day in the life or what your students experience.
That's a really great question. We have a dual focus. And so one of our core pillars is we focus on student success with the idea of focusing on college completion. And so we recruit middle school students which is an early age, and we partner with them all the way through high school completion and then all the way through college graduation, with the intent that we believe that education or a college degree is an equalizer. And then the second part of our mission is we recruit college students to be teaching fellows for our program. And so we believe that if you can work with teachers at an earlier stage of their career, then we can support the overall teacher pipeline gap in America.
Yeah, that's awesome. Keep them engaged, get them started, make sure they have training and real-time experiences. To sort of round out what Breakthrough does, what is it trying to solve?
When I think about what we're trying to solve, I immediately think about economic mobility at a time where we know that education is critical in America, especially post-pandemic. We know that data supports that if you are going to achieve economic mobility for you and your family, that having a college degree is critical. A critical component of that. So boundary breakers have a very clear sense of their origin and what they learned in their origin years and how it shaped them to be who they are today. So take us back to, the smaller Lereca. Where were you raised and what was that like? I'm a native of Vancouver, Washington, and I grew up within a Seventh-day Adventist community. And so what I recall at a very early age was going to church all the time.
All the time.
All the time. 7 days a week, and from as early as I can remember. And in that, being a Seventh-day Adventist, we were really committed to evangelizing at a very early age. And so I found myself in prisons praying with my grandmother. I found myself in the community supporting young people, our families, with food and things of that nature. I even recall sitting at the feet of elders and washing their feet as a young person. So that is a huge component of my origin story, and I think that's why I developed this service heart very early on.
Yeah. So what else did that teach you?
I think what I learned at those early years was ability to serve other people, but also being introspective enough to know that I'm resourced or that we can share resources and that not everyone has similar resources, and that we can convene people and bring people together to really meet the needs of those in our community.
Yeah. So community and connectedness are also a part of your origin story. So in Boundary Breakers stories, they're clear on an experience or a set of experiences that sort of cemented parts of who they are and how they show up as leaders. Can you think of a moment in your origin story or a set of moments that you were like, I knew something different about myself?
Yeah, well, what's interesting is although I grew up in this beautiful community, I saw mountains and I saw snow, and I grew up with service. I think the shadow side is that my family was impacted by the war on drugs. And so being impacted by the war on drugs means that at a very early age, I also had exposure to what it meant to have a mom that was what many people would call a crack addict. And I found myself at an early age in and out of foster care and often homeless as a result. Fortunately, one of the things that I could focus on were my academics. And in my academics, I was able to find something that I could be successful with and that I could achieve. And so I found myself focused on both service, because my grandmother taught me that at an early age, but something where I felt validated in my young journey. And my grades and being successful was what validated me at a very early age.
Yeah. To transition a bit, I know something I've heard you say in different spaces is love is the answer. Mm-hmm. Tell us more about that. What does that mean to you? Where did it come from?
So glad you asked. I spent so many years trying to understand why my family was impacted the way that they were. And so I found myself addicted to the approval of other people. And as I began to unearth and unpack some of the trauma, what I realized that is I didn't know how to love, how to express love. And so my heart had become permanently comatose. And I couldn't even feel or experience love. And so I began this journey, and then I became a mom. That will change your life drastically.
Yeah.
And I had this young child, and I remember looking at her and I said, I like myself, but I don't love myself. And I didn't understand what that meant. And that was in 2014. So I began this journey of trying to understand what love meant for me. And I found out that for me, it was love of God, which is my creation, love of self, which is the component that I was missing, was the self-love component, which is philothea. And then love of others is which is what we talk about, philanthropy. And so in unpacking my desire to love my daughter, or to see the love in myself so that I could become the best version of myself, I started this journey of love. Then I was able to track that it's all things are Philo for me.
Yes. And so tell us more about how Philo shows up for you professionally in your work. And I say that because you have been tremendous in hurdling over. In the last 5 years, you have been the first person to serve in chief executive roles. That's no easy feat.
It's not.
Yeah. So tell us more about how Philo shows up for you professionally, what it means for you and how you fulfill that.
That's such a great question. Philo, through the lens of, I'll start with Philo, self-love, philothea, is what I learned through this journey is, in order for me to be an executive to others, in order for me to be the best version of myself, I had to be comfortable with all of my experiences. And through those experiences, I was able to breathe authenticity when engaging with other people as a coach or as a leader within an organization. Yep. And then let's transform that to philanthropy. Philanthropy is the love of humankind. And so when I was able to understand that the work that I was doing was really bringing folks together to love humankind, I was able to just build strategy, build connection, build community, and model that for other people. And I've been climbing since then.
Yes, ma'am.
At a fast rate.
We can all see it, a very, very fast clip. But I love what you're describing. It sounds like it was a really culminating moment for you of sort of self-efficacy that's connected to self-love, in which you were able to be really authentic about your unique gifts and talents and how they play out in the world of philanthropy and social entrepreneurship. Yeah. Tell us how that has maybe not shown up in areas of your life where Philo or love has been challenging?
That's a heavy question. And I think it's important for your listeners to know is in this journey of self-love, what I've realized is that part of healing was not checking the box. My healing journey required me to really look at self. And so in 2020, I experienced domestic violence. And I thought that could never happen to somebody like me. I had the resume, I had the relationships, I had the external appearance.
Yeah.
But what I learned was that there was something else for me to know about myself, and that I had been hiding so much of who I was, this need and desire for connection, this need and desire to be in relationship or to be close with other people, that it drastically changed my life. And so I began this additional journey of digging deeper.
Okay.
And what I realized is that I had created this shell around myself, and I had created a space where I was embarrassed of my previous life, all of the experiences that I had, and I had been hiding behind the smile and those things. And I realized that I needed to come out of that.
Wow.
And I started doing the work.
Yeah.
And although it was a domestic violence situation that got me there, I learned that the body keeps score.
Yes,
that I had
ma'am.
been holding on to the trauma for years,
Yeah.
although being able to mask it with the smile and my ability to achieve professional results. And from that, now, you understand, I love storytelling. And what I realized is the more that I told my story, the more that it was cathartic for my soul,
Yeah.
but it was also cathartic for other people.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a really great transition into how did service, connection, Philo, and this turning point, how did that show up for you? I know something you've talked about previously is you almost had to create a new identity and accept that identity.
Yeah.
So talk to us about how did you show up as a leader after this experience?
That's a great question. I use a moniker just to remind myself of my greatness and my value as an individual. And I had to remember who and whose I am,
Yes.
and understand that I was born for something great,
Yes.
starting with that. And then I had to learn how to embrace my uniqueness. So embrace every story that I didn't want to tell about myself.
Yep.
And I realized that the more that I embraced all of my uniqueness, the more that liberating it was for me, but also liberating for other
Right.
women.
Right. Right.
And then I focused on investing in myself, mind, body, and spirit. And so I'm an audiobook listener. I go for long walks at the park. I focus on professional development and learning. So it touches all areas of my life. And so I have a unique ability to convene others,
Yes.
to strategize professionally. And I started really giving of my gift, but realizing you can also monetize of your gift. Like, giving to other people in the community is great.
Yep.
And we were gifted with something unique
Yeah.
to bring to the world. And so I got intentional about monetizing off my gifting, which has really been instrumental in my growth, professionally and personally. And then next on my journey is I started focusing on this legacy piece. How could I be a legacy leaver? When someone looks up and they think about Lereca, what does Lereca want to be known for? What does my daughter's children's children want to know about me? And then professionally, how can I continue to leave a mark in my professional journey?
And what surfaced for you in asking some of those questions?
Yeah, what surfaced truly was what I want to be known for is agape. Is how love can truly be a powerful tool to transform how you think about yourself, your relationships with other people, how it's okay to practice agape in the workforce.
Yeah.
I even bring it to the workforce, and people often ask me, how do you show up this way?
Yeah.
And it's both authenticity and accountability is part of the agape approach. And that's how it's showing up for me in this stage of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for you as the mother of a beautiful daughter? And what do you want, if she decides to have children, what do you want her children to be able to say? And how are you cultivating that life with your daughter to ensure that your legacy lives on?
I'm planting the seeds right now, and the seeds have been planted. And if you know anything about planting seeds, I think you have a garden.
I do.
Is seeds germinate in the darkness. And so there were seasons that were quite dark for me, but we need light to grow. And through this growth, and shedding light on these experiences or the experiences of my past, I'm able to plant new seeds in the life of my daughter, and also partner with the sunlight for them to grow so that her children will have just a different set of experiences than I have ever experienced. And so Lorraine and I were having a conversation the other day, and she's thinking about which law schools she wants to attend.
Lorraine.
I know. She's talking about how she wants to monetize off of her gifts as a 10-year-old. And those aren't the conversations that I was having. And I know that one of the questions that I asked her was, what's the gift that she wants right now? She says, Mom, I want to be able to provide well for my family.
Wow, at 10.
At 10.
Wow.
And so when I think about this legacy, I'm planting the seeds. The light is shining. It's shining on my daughter, and I know that it's going to impact her children's children as well.
When you think about the culmination of this journey that you've been on, I know it's been complex. It's had beautiful twists and turns, some beastly twists and turns. What would you say, if you had to pull up, what were some of the biggest barriers you had to break?
How I thought about myself and taking on experiences as an internal identity of myself and showing up externally with those identity markers that were not serving me as a person, as a mom, as an executive. And I chose to transform the way that I thought about myself. And I stopped using words like unloved, unwanted, unneeded. And I started using more powerful words like I have authority. I am purposed. I am loved. Life will be abundant. Life is abundant. And that is what helped me experience the breakthroughs that I needed.
So it sounds like it all started with you. Even though all of these things were happening, it started with you.
Yes.
Changing the way you thought about yourself so that you could have a better relationship with self in order to have a better relationship with those around you.
Correct.
So Boundary Breakers love a hill, right? We see a hill and we don't necessarily see it as totally exhausting, although sometimes we do, but we see opportunity even in some of the most challenging views. Mm-hmm. And so when you think about your view moving forward, what hill do you see? What hill do you want to climb?
I think what's on the horizon for me, both personally and professionally, is I'm at a stage where I must make a choice. Do I want to continue the journey of working for someone in education, which is a complex system that we are often trying to solve for, or I'm on this journey to build LM Philanthropy and the coaching and the consulting work that I'm doing. If I'm listening to my inner self and I'm truly experiencing the liberation that I need to experience, then I'm more than likely moving towards the journey of LM Philanthropy, which is independence. And when I think about just my values, it's faith, family, and freedom.
So I'm going to transition us to a pretty big question, which is, if you closed your eyes and you imagine that a problem that you're trying to solve doesn't exist and it is solved, what does the world look like?
What a tall order. It goes back to this idea around identity and self-love. And I'm going to anchor it in women.
Yes.
I think we hold so much power. Just imagine a world where you and I, other women our age, older than us, our children, our daughters, their daughters, knew the power of self-love. And so I imagine women leading, women showing up in spaces both as an executive and as a mom, very limitless, fearless. I see women accepting who they are as women and individuals. I see individuals coming together with this space of authenticity is where we don't have to hide behind our past experiences, where those were just experiences that have catapulted us into another space. And so I just see women showing up with this space of like self-love and using a different set of identity markers starting at a very early age.
Yeah. Sounds like ownership of who you are, ownership of power, especially with women starting as young girls, and not being, being unfettered and not being criticized for it is kind of the world that you see, which is beautiful, Lereca. That is incredibly beautiful.
Thank you.
So we have lots of boundary breakers who will be listening to this, and I'm sure, at the end of this episode, they're probably wanting some advice from you. And so I'm going to ask you to share some advice with them. What is one piece of advice that you would share with boundary breakers who are listening in?
It goes back to this idea of self-love and understanding that each of us have a unique gift to bring to the world, and that my gift is not Patty's gift, and Patty's gift is not her daughter's gift. And so my one piece of advice to every woman is to embrace your uniqueness and give of your gift.
Embrace your uniqueness and give of your gift.
Yes.
Well, thank you for giving the gift of your presence and your time and your voice and conviction. Lereca, I'm so grateful that we had you on today.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Love you.
Love you too. And that's another episode of the Boundary Breakers podcast, where we are amplifying the voices of leaders who are transforming the world through their unique gifts and talents. As you have heard, boundary breakers rarely get there alone. If you are a current or aspiring executive seeking to enact meaningful change in your organization and the world, visit our website and learn more about Boundary Breakers strategy consulting and executive coaching services. Or if you believe you fit the profile of a boundary breaker with a message that has the potential to inspire our listeners, share your story with us through the email address in the description. Finally, don't forget to like and subscribe to be the first to know when the new episodes are uploaded. Until then, continue breaking boundaries.